All right, well, it's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started with our presentation. You are here because you joined the virtual public meeting for the 119th Street Extension Project, Northgate to Woodland for the city of Olathe. My name is Neil Meredith. I'm a senior project manager with the city. Also joining me on the line this evening should be my consultant representatives from HDR. This meeting will be recorded and should be available on our website within a few days after the meeting. So please keep that in mind if you have to hop off early. We will go through the presentation and then have a question period. My hope is that we can get through this presentation at least 2 times in our allotted time frame. Please type any questions you have in the chat box and we will address them during our question period following the presentation. Any questions specific to private property or specific to individual property impacts can be better addressed on Thursday when we will have an in-person public meeting at Woodland Elementary School. I would ask any questions of those nature you hold until that public meeting, and you can speak to me or my representatives from HDR, or you could reach out to me directly at any time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have specific property issues or questions. Again, feel free to type questions into the chat box, or if you see something you like that we're doing, please let us know in that chat as well. We also like positive feedback when we do these as well, so we know what we're doing right. All right, about the project, the 119th Street extension from Northgate to Woodland. This will be an extension of 119th Street. It will include a 4-lane arterial section from Northgate west to Woodland. This will involve a bridge over the BNSF, Mill Creek, and Gary Holler Trail that is currently existing. Right there, you can see the layout on the top right of the screen. Let's see. There will be a new roundabout at 119th Street and Northgate with this project. We will improve 119th Street at the intersections of Lone Elm, Iowa, and Woodland with turn lane additions as a part of this project. We will provide pedestrian and bicycle accommodations. We will create a connection from 119th Street to the Gary Holler Trail as a part of this project. And we will construct raised medians for access control and safety through the project corridor, and especially at that new roundabout at 119th Street. Some of you who have joined us for the previous public meetings may recognize that layout. Our roundabout is a carryover design from the second public meeting. All right, a closer look at the overall project. So the project improvements will extend west along the 119th Street corridor. Our western limit will be at Lone Elm Road. We will construct intersection improvements in this area. It will include new traffic signals and ADA accommodations. There will be utility relocations as well. The next area, the next intersection for improvement will be 119th Street and Iowa Street. This will also include a signalized intersection, some of those same ADA and pedestrian accommodations as well. And then moving east through our project corridor, there will be improvements at 119th Street and Woodland. These improvements at this intersection will be to accommodate the new 4-lane arterial section that will be constructed from Northgate to Woodland. Let's see. We will have a new signalized intersection at Woodland as well. We will be adding turn lanes to all of those impacted intersections from Lone Elm, Iowa to Woodland. The 119th Street extension, again, that is a 4-lane arterial section that will run over BNSF, Mill Creek, and the trail. We will have reconfigurations of Northgate and Nelson Road. That will be to accommodate the new roundabout at 119th Street. This section will also, down in this area, will also be a pedestrian connection to the Gary Holler Trail. You can see in this layout, there is a roundabout along Nelson Road that will be constructed to allow for access to the future development property that is there on the southeast corner of Northgate and 119th Street. see. Next, we will kind of hop into a closer look at each intersection. So we have lane configurations before and after. We will start here at Lone Elm. So as you can see in this before picture, we basically have through lanes in each direction with the only additional turn lane on southbound Lone Elm, that left turn lane that you can see on the northern leg of that intersection. So our planned project in that currently that is an unsignalized intersection that is a four-way stop. With this project, we will be adding turn lane additions to this intersection. On the right there, after, you can see a screenshot or a capture of our proposed lane additions. We will basically be adding right and left turn lanes on each leg of the intersection. So on both east and westbound 119th Street and on north and southbound Woodland or Lone Elm, excuse me, we will be adding turn lanes in every direction, along with that traffic signal that you see there. We do anticipate impacts to utilities at this intersection. We are currently working with all our utility providers to come up with a plan to get people out of the way so these improvements can be constructed. We also have quite a bit of city infrastructure, including water lines at this intersection that we need to account for. Atmos also has some pretty major facilities at this location. Next, we will move east over to Iowa Street in the intersection with 119th. So again, on the left, you can kind of see the existing condition as it is now. North and southbound Iowa have left turn lanes. It is a two-way stop. So Iowa traffic currently stops with through traffic on 119th with no stop signs. This will be converted over to a signalized intersection with this project. As previously with the Lone Elm intersection, we will be adding turn lanes in every direction. So we will maintain dedicated through lanes on 119th and Iowa on each leg. And we will also add left and right turn lanes on each leg of this intersection. Again, as with Lone Elm, there are utility impacts in this location. So we are working with utility providers to come up with a plan to get people clear of this intersection as well. Next, we're going to take a look at the Woodland intersection. So in its current condition, again, this is a T intersection where 119th Street dead ends. We will be constructing the 4-lane arterial intersection east of this to connect to Northgate. This intersection, we will add turn lanes in all directions as well. So the eastbound 119th Street, we will have 2 through lanes. The outside through lane will also be used for vehicles that wish to make a southbound right turn. There will be a left turn lane on this leg as well. Both north and southbound Woodland will have dedicated through lanes and will also have dedicated left and right turn lanes. Westbound 119th Street will have 2 through lanes, as well as a dedicated southbound left turn lane onto Woodland and a dedicated right turn lane northbound onto Woodland. But this intersection east does start the 4-lane arterial section of 119th Street. So speaking of 119th Street, this is our proposed roundabout at this location. So you can see before 119th Street turns south southwest into Northgate Street. We will be constructing that bridge with separate west and eastbound bridge sections over BNSF, Mill Creek, and the Gary Holler Trail in this location. So we will carry 2 through lanes of traffic, both east and westbound across that bridge. Then you come into the roundabout. We will have a protected right turn at that roundabout for eastbound 119th Street traffic. We also have that protected right for northbound Northgate traffic turning onto 119th, as well as westbound 119th Street traffic. And basically two through lanes carried around that roundabout. Let's see. You can also see in this after picture the proposed reconfiguration of Nelson Street. So we are moving that connection to Northgate to the south to accommodate that roundabout. And you can see the proposed roundabout in this location is to allow for that future development of the parcel of land to the east of Nelson. Let's see. Continuing east along the project corridor. So this is 119th Street and Sunset. This is basically the eastern limits of this project. So from the new bridge and the new roundabout east, you can see this is where our project limits meet existing improvements of 119th. We will be constructing controlled access at Sunset Drive to allow for better level of service through the 119th Street traffic corridor. So you can see the existing and then after of this intersection as well. But again, we will have controlled access here. All right, moving on to pedestrian connectivity. So here you can kind of see the overall layout of the section between Woodland and Northgate of 119th Street. This is where we will be constructing the new bridge section. Planned pedestrian improvements include pedestrian connection on both the northern and southern bridge. So we will carry a 5-foot sidewalk through that bridge section, which will actually be 7 feet wide on the bridge. But through the rest of the project in this area, we'll be adding a 5-foot sidewalk on those northern lanes. So to the south, we will have our traditional 10-foot side path that we carry along arterial streets. This will carry through the bridge section as well. We will also look to connect this 10-foot side path to the Gary Holler Trail, kind of there at the southern end of the project limits along Northgate Street. So we will dive down and connect to the trail at that location and then follow that trail to the north. All right, to talk about the bridge of 119th Street over BNSF and Mill Creek. So some of the details of that bridge, again, we will have separate eastbound and westbound structures. So there, that eastbound structure will be on the south, and that will carry that 10-foot side path. The bridge type of this will be a pre-stressed concrete beam bridge. Again, it will be a 4-lane arterial section, so there will be 2 lanes of 12-foot travel lanes in each direction. So 2 eastbound and 2 westbound through that bridge section. And again, details of the sidewalk on the actual bridge, we will have a 7-foot wide sidewalk on the westbound bridge and a 12-foot wide sidewalk on the eastbound bridge. There will be safety barriers in place to separate pedestrians from vehicle travel. Per railroad requirements, we will also have a 10-foot tall protective fencing along the bridge in the rail section. And then aesthetics, we are working to design our bridge aesthetics as a part of final design. So we are moving into final design at this time, and we will explore alternatives for that with final design. This is a rendering of that bridge section carried into the roundabout at 119th and Northgate. So again, this is a rendering based on preliminary engineering and a preliminary look at what we think this corridor could look like. You can see the bridge and then Mill Creek, and as well as the Gary Holler Trail under the bridge section here in that location. You can see in the roundabout, you can see pedestrian connections through the roundabout on the southern leg and on the eastern leg. And again, carrying through the project corridor south on Northgate, we will make a connection to the Gary Holler Trail. So that kind of concludes the layout of the project. What is next for this project? We will start land acquisition this fall. So if you are impacted by improvements with this project, city representatives will reach out to you directly beginning this fall to discuss easement acquisition or land acquisition as a part of this project. Utility relocation and construction should begin sometime this winter, carrying into spring of 2023. We are currently working with utility companies to make sure they have a plan and a design to relocate where we have conflicts with our proposed improvements. Many of you may have seen a presence out there this summer. A lot of utility companies have been out trying to gather information. We've been doing surveying, and there's been some additional utility gathering information done as well on site. So that's what's been going on out there. Again, we would anticipate that utility relocates start this winter. For our project, we anticipate final design by mid 2023. We are currently progressing from about 60% design plans. And then looking forward, what we can expect for the future. So we will have another public meeting in the fall once we have a contractor selected for this project. These are anticipated dates. So again, if things change with land acquisition, if things change with utility relocation, these anticipated dates may change moving forward. But right now we're hoping to have another public meeting this fall where people can meet the contractor and we can have more information about schedule. We would anticipate construction to start in fall 2023 and last through 2024 with completion in early 2025. Again, that construction schedule will not be finalized until a contractor is selected. And that concludes what we were hoping to present this evening. It looks like that we may be having some issues with the chat function in this presentation right now. So bear with me if you can for a minute. Again, bear with me to see if I can get our chat function up and running. Great, looks like we're up and running on the chat. Apologize for that delay on the chat function. Thanks everyone for hanging with us during that. Again, just running through this final slide real quick, and then we'll get to questions. We will have an in-person public meeting this Thursday, September 15th, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Woodland Elementary School. And we will be available, staff and our consultants, HDR, will be available to answer questions during that meeting. We will have some additional public meeting materials as well as plans available for review. Again, any questions regarding direct impacts to private property can be discussed face-to-face during our open house meeting with staff, myself or HDR. But as always, if you have specific questions about your property or any potential impacts, please feel free to contact me directly at any time. My contact information is there. My email and my phone number, 913-971-9075. We will also be updating our website with materials presented during this public meeting. So feel free to drop in on our website here in the next several days as we get that updated and find out more information or find out anything you missed during this meeting. Let's take a look at some of the questions we have here. Yeah, so someone has a question about the eastbound bridge and possible 3 lanes. The intent of that rendering, again, those renderings are preliminary and they're kind of a high level look just to kind of provide some more information, but that is a 2-lane eastbound section through there. It might appear wider due to the 12-foot sidewalk and 10-foot sidewalk through that section. So it's a 10-foot side path, but once you're on the actual bridge, it's actually a little bit wider, 12 feet. Someone had a question about the intersection, let's see here, of Sunset 119th. So again, you can kind of see it will not be a signalized intersection. We will just be putting in kind of median directional pavers right there to allow for a left turn onto Sunset and to allow for 119th to turn left into that senior living facility at that location. But that controlled access will not allow for left turns off of Sunset or out of that senior living facility. But again, that will be controlled through a median improvement that will not be signalized. There is a question about if there was a traffic analysis done with this project, and yes, there was a traffic impact study done by our consultants, HDR, both based on existing conditions and proposed conditions with our improvements. If anyone has more specific questions on the traffic analysis, again, that would be great to get into face-to-face on Thursday at our public meeting. Someone asked the question, will 119th Street eventually be 4 lanes, 2K7? The answer to that is, I mean, it is an arterial section. It is in our traffic or transportation master plan to be a fully improved arterial street at some point, which would be 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction at some point. Yes, I would envision that would happen at some point in the future. That is not a part of our next CIP plan, so our 23 to 27 CIP. And if that is proposed as improvement, that will show up in our capital improvement plan in the future. But I do not have any time frame onto when that would happen as of this time. Let's see. Someone had a question about Nelson. This should give you the best view of Nelson. So currently Nelson does connect to 119th and Northgate. Excuse me. At that existing location, the current location of the Nelson into Northgate impacts the proposed roundabout. So we are modifying the Nelson connection to Northgate and pushing that further south. Again, that will keep it out of those roundabout lanes. But we do need to account, the reason there is a roundabout on the Nelson section is to account for a connection to development to the northeast of that roundabout, or that kind of southeast corner of 119th and Northgate, and that developable land in that area. There is a question, will there be sidewalks on the north side of 119th Street west of Woodland? We do not have proposed sidewalks on the north side west of Woodland at this time. So that would be a part of a corridor improvement of 119th Street. Someone is asking about sequencing and when we will be doing improvements at each intersection. So the city, again, is currently working on final design with this project. There will be proposed sequencing as a part of our plans. But any construction schedule isn't finalized until we have a contractor on board. So we would take a hard look at final sequencing once we have a contractor on board, which we hope to be, again, by the fall of 2023. Someone is asking generally, where would land acquisition take place? Generally speaking, land acquisition would take place around the intersections through the project corridor to accommodate those turn lanes. So that would be at your Lone Elm, Iowa, and Woodland intersections. There will be some city land acquisition through that Northgate, 119th and Nelson corridor. But those are more singular property owners, and a lot of that land is actually already owned by the city and or the county. Someone is asking about the Woodland intersection and turn lanes at that location. So someone is asking, why is there no dedicated right turn lane at this intersection? So this was looked at in concept and preliminary design. If you can see on this aerial, there's actually pretty substantial drainage improvements and grading that bound this intersection on the west side along Woodland. So a right turn lane at this point in time, based on storm drainage improvements that would need to take place, further land acquisition, and then actual grading, were not feasible at this time with this project. So that is why we have that on that eastbound 119th Street leg. We have a dedicated left, and then 2 through, with that outside through being a right turn lane as well. And again, we're getting another question about construction sequencing. We don't have that finalized. We will be looking at sequencing during our final design, and then once we have a contractor on board, and we'll be able to communicate that sequence at that point in time. We will have another public meeting once we have a better idea of that construction sequencing, and we can also post that information to the website. Someone is asking for my contact information. Yeah, I can post that to the chat. It'll also be available on our website. Someone is asking about medians at the 119th Street in Iowa intersection as it moves east through that intersection in relation to the parking lot, the church parking lot on the north. We will have striped medians at that location planned with these improvements. So your best, if you're eastbound on 119th, your best point of access would be to turn left on Iowa and then enter the church from Iowa Street. Someone is asking about Woodland and Cherry. Yeah, and I apologize, we don't have that zoomed out fully, but yeah, we will begin a taper of improvements pretty near Cherry Street. So the improved section of Woodland that you see right here in the after picture transitions back down to the two lane existing 119th Street section. So corridor improvements of 119th Street would be a part of a separate project. Someone is asking about a roundabout as opposed to a signalized intersection at 119th in Iowa. We are obviously installing a roundabout at 119th and Northgate. When we look at these projects, we look at each intersection individually and do a traffic analysis and evaluate alternatives for each intersection on a case-by-case basis. Currently at the Iowa intersection, this project, again, we're not looking to do full-scale corridor improvements of 119th Street. We're trying to improve each of these intersections to account for additional traffic that may be realized once 119th Street is connected. So the signalized intersection and the turn lane improvements are part of this project to improve conditions now with this project, but that 119th Street corridor is not fully built out. So any long-term or permanent impacts to that intersection, which would again possibly be a roundabout, would be looked at when there's corridor improvements done through all of 119th. Using this signalized intersection at this point in time allows us to reuse as much of that existing infrastructure that we have out there, and is a cost benefit to the project right now. But again, we still get the level of service that's desired with this project, with these intersection improvements, with this configuration. So someone is asking about sidewalks through the corridor. We will be making sidewalk connections as we can with some of these intersection improvements. But for example, someone's asking about unimproved Lone Elm. We will not be carrying sidewalks a great distance south to make any major connections with this project. Our improvements with this project at this point in time are focused on those intersections. Someone is asking about Woodland improvements north. We do not. We are just planning to improve the intersection of Woodland and 119th at this time. We are not carrying any improvements further to the north. So the turn lanes that you see here will taper back down to the existing Woodland section pretty quickly after this intersection. Someone's asking what the traffic patterns will be like during construction. Again, we will look at that issue during final design. We don't have any final plans in that regard at this point in time. We will work with that. We'll also work with our contractor once we have a contractor selected for this project to finalize sequencing and finalize an overall traffic control plan during construction. And again, we will communicate that information at that time. Once we enter construction, there will also still be regular updates to our website. Any traffic impacts, we will post to that as well. All right. I appreciate all the questions. Just for time's sake, we're running a little late on the question and answer period. So I will run through the presentation again. Feel free to stay on or feel free to hop off. Again, this presentation will be posted to our website once a few days after this meeting, so you will have another opportunity to see this. Let's see. Bear with me here. All right, so starting again, this is the virtual public meeting number 3 for 119th Street Extension Northgate to Woodland project. My name is Neil Meredith. I'm a senior project manager with the City of Olathe. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We will go through this presentation and then have a question period at the end. Please type in any questions into that chat box that is now fully functional. And I will address any questions you have in there following this second round of presentation. Again, any questions regarding specific impacts to private property can be better addressed in our in-person public meeting on Thursday, or please feel free to reach out to me at any point in time directly should you have any questions about specific impacts to your property if you are in that corridor along 119th. Again, I appreciate all the questions. We appreciate you all being patient as we move through this design process, and let us know if we're doing something right that you guys like and want us to see us continue in that chat box. We appreciate it. About the project, all right, the 119th Street extension from Northgate to Woodland. This will include a new 4-lane arterial section to match 119th Street to the east. This will carry over it will include a new bridge over BNSF, Mill Creek, and the Gary Holler Trail that currently exists out there on site. We will have a new roundabout at 119th Street in Northgate, which you can see in that layout there. We will improve 119th Street at the intersections of Lone Elm, Iowa, and Woodland with turn lane additions. We will provide pedestrian and bicycle accommodations, especially here in that 119th Street corridor and to connect to the Gary Holler Trail. We will construct raised medians with these improvements for access control and safety. Next, we will take a look at the overall project area. So you can see this project extends from Lone Elm over to Northgate 119th and actually east of Sunset. We will first take a look at that 119th Street and Lone Elm intersection. This will be widened in all directions for turn lane additions. We will construct new traffic signals and ADA accommodations where possible with sidewalk at that location. 119th Street in Iowa, moving east. Intersection here will be widened in all directions as well to accommodate new turn lanes. We will, as with Lone Elm, we will install traffic signals in this intersection. Again, per the earlier question, the intersections at these locations is to accommodate our improvements with this project. This is not a fully built out section at this time, but to reuse existing infrastructure in place and to meet our level of service that we want to see with our traffic flow through this corridor, intersections are being proposed at this time in these locations. At 119th Street in Woodland, we will also be adding a signalized intersection. This will include lane additions in each direction. And this is where we will also be connecting to that 4-lane arterial section of 119th Street over BNSF. Moving east is where we have the new roundabout at 119th Street in Northgate. There will be access control with this roundabout, but there will be 2 through lanes through that roundabout and protected right turns on each leg to allow for better traffic flow through that roundabout. Next, we will dive into a closer look at each intersection. Starting with 119th Street in Lone Elm. Again, currently this is a 4-way stop. The only dedicated turn lane currently at this intersection is a southbound left turn lane on that north leg of the Lone Elm intersection. So we will be adding dedicated left and right turns on each leg of the intersection, as well as that signalized intersection. Let's see, just looking at my notes here and some comments we're getting. Someone previously had a question about improvements to Lone Elm. So it looks like it's as part of our next budget cycle, there may be a plan and a budget to improve Lone Elm north and south at this location. So any sidewalks or improvements to Lone Elm outside of the intersection would happen with those improvements. And it's possible design on those improvements could start as early as 2024. Again, back to this project though, we will be installing left and right turn lanes on each leg. As far as impacts, there are heavy utility impacts at this intersection. There's city water, Water One. Atmos has pretty substantial improvements here that we need to account for, as well as Evergy and all of our communications folks. We are currently working with utility companies to make sure there's a plan in place to get them relocated as necessary. All right, moving east through the project. Next intersection improvement will be at Iowa Street. Currently, you can see 119th Street is through traffic with no stop. Iowa Street has stop signs for north and southbound Iowa. There are dedicated left turn lanes on Iowa at this point in time, but we will be improving each leg of this intersection as well. We will be adding left and right turn lanes to both 119th Street legs. We will also be adding dedicated right turn lanes to Iowa, along with that signal improvement as well. Again, these intersection improvements do taper back down. We would expect a full corridor improvement at some time in the future. Continuing to move east, 119th Street in Woodland. This is where we do meet the arterial improvements of 119th Street between Woodland and Northgate. We have turn lane additions in every direction at this intersection. So we have on 119th Street eastbound, we have a dedicated left, 2 throughs with that outside through lane being used as a right turn lane as well. Our westbound 119th Street leg has a right turn lane and a left turn lane, along with 2 lanes of through traffic. Again, the outside of this after picture here, we do taper down to the existing 118th Street section, so that 4-lane of traffic does not carry all the way to Iowa. It tapers down to meet existing infrastructure just west of here. And again, north and southbound Woodland, dedicated left and right turns and dedicated through lane. Moving on to the roundabout at 119th Street in Northgate. Again, this is where we carry the 4-lane arterial section, 2 separate bridge sections for east and westbound traffic over BNSF Railway, Mill Creek, and the Gary Holler Trail. You can see 2 lanes of traffic through the roundabout. We will have protected right turn lanes in each direction of this roundabout. The existing Nelson intersection into Northgate will be moved south to accommodate for the roundabout improvements. Again, the roundabout along Nelson is to accommodate for future access to development east of Nelson at this location, south of 119th. Moving east to where this project meets existing improvements. So this will be the end of our project on the east side of Sunset. We will be adding control access through a median improvement at Sunset Drive to better account for traffic flow along 119th Street. Again, this is not a signalized intersection, but a median improvement to accommodate a left turn lane onto Sunset from 119th, and from 119th a left for the westbound traffic to turn south into the senior living facility. This is the extent of our project to the east. Moving on to pedestrian connectivity through the improved 119th Street section. So we will have a new 5-foot sidewalk on the northern or on the westbound lanes of traffic. We will have a side path, so 10-foot width along the eastbound or southern lanes of traffic. So that 10-foot section through the bridge section is actually 12-foot wide along the bridge. Again, we will touch on some bridge specifics here on the slide. In the next slide. The other point of emphasis with pedestrian connectivity in this project is we will be adding a connection from that 10-foot side path along the south side of 119th Street, carry that south and connect to the Gary Holler Trail, which then carries north under our new bridge of 119th Street. All right, and moving on to bridge. So the new bridge 4-lane arterial section over the BNSF and Mill Creek, there will be separate eastbound and westbound structures. The bridge type is a pre-stressed concrete beam bridge for both those sections. Both the eastbound and westbound will have 2 12-foot lanes of traffic in either direction. There will be a 7-foot sidewalk on the westbound bridge, which then tapers back down to 5 feet once it's clear of the bridge along 119th Street. So again, that's the northern section of 119th Street. And then we will have a 12-foot wide sidewalk on the eastbound bridge. Again, that tapers back down to 10 feet once you're clear of the bridge. Per railroad requirements, there will be fencing along the bridge, and we will also have a concrete barrier separating those pedestrians from vehicle traffic on the bridge as well. Again, bridge aesthetics, we will be reviewing alternatives and making decisions with that as a part of final design. Here is a preliminary rendering, kind of a high-level view of what we'd expect to see. Again, there was a question earlier about 3 lanes of traffic. I kind of see where you're saying there. It might be a little bit of an optical illusion, but we do intend to have 2 lanes of traffic, and then that section right there might be to accommodate the dedicated right turn. But there is also that 10 to 12 foot wide side path on that section of bridge. So you can see the Mill Creek or Gary Holler Trail continuing under the bridge at this location. You can see BNSF, Mill Creek also under the bridge. We do have pedestrian access through the roundabout on the southern leg, as well as the eastern leg of this roundabout, to account for any pedestrian movement through this roundabout. The connection to Gary Holler Trail from 119th Street will be south along Northgate. And you can see the new connection of Nelson, which has to move further south to accommodate the roundabout improvements in this rendering as well. Again, this is just a preliminary look at what we might guess at a final product out here. What is next for this project? So we will, if you are directly impacted by this project, and there are land acquisition needs on your property, we will begin that here in fall of 2022. City representatives will reach out to you directly if you are impacted. Utility relocation construction should commence this winter of 2022 and continue into the spring. We are moving forward with final design of this project for our improvements and hope to be complete with final design by mid-2023. Assuming all of those items go according to plan, our anticipated construction schedule or anticipated construction start would be by the end of 2023. We would have another public meeting once we have selected a contractor. Again, that's where we would communicate construction sequencing, traffic impacts, detour routes as a part of active construction once we have our contractor on board. That meeting is anticipated for fall of 23. So that would begin construction start in fall of 23 through all of 2024 with completion in early 2025. Again, our construction schedule will not be finalized. Our construction schedule, sequencing, and detour routes will not be finalized until we have a contractor. So we are back to questions. If you type those into the chat box, we will try to get them as we can. Just some further information. Our next public meeting is this Thursday, September 15th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. That public meeting is an open house style format, so it's come and go as you please. We will have staff and we will have our consultants, HDR, available for questions. We will have some additional materials. We will also have plans available for review. So if you are someone that think your property might be directly impacted, feel free to join us at that meeting and we should be able to take a look at your impacted property. That meeting, that open house style public meeting will be at Woodland Elementary School. And again, if you do believe that you're impacted by the meeting and have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly at any time. My contact information is there. My phone number is 913-971-9075. Again, that is 913-971-9075. My email is available there as well. It is nrmeredith@olatheks.org. Again, once we conclude with this meeting, we would expect to have materials presented in this meeting, and as well as the recorded meeting posted to our website at olatheks.org. Go to construction projects and 119th Street extension. You should be able to find any information related to this project. And we will have updates posted here in the next week or so. We do have time for more questions. If anyone has any further questions, feel free to post those in the chat box. There is the link to our project website for any interested parties. Again, I'd like to thank all of our residents that joined us this evening. Hopefully we'll see some of you at our public meeting on Thursday. Appreciate your input, appreciate your feedback in regards to this project. Thanks to our project team here at the city for all the help with this. Again, for anyone who joined late, this presentation will be posted to our website, hopefully within 7 days. Feel free to hop on there and take a look if you missed anything. Another couple minutes, if anyone has a question come to mind, feel free to type it into that chat box. All right, last opportunity for questions. I'll give everyone another minute or so. If anyone has any questions they'd like to ask, for anyone that may have joined late. Again, this presentation will be posted to our website. All right, well, one final time, I appreciate everyone who joined us this evening. Maybe we'll see some of you at our in-person public meeting here this Thursday, 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Woodland Elementary School. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. Phone number 913-971-9075. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening. Appreciate it.